Sorry? No, you're precisely the opposite. Basically, you're great. I want you to think of yourself as like an academic machine right now, an absolute intellectual athlete, all right? You are at the peak of your performance. Yeah. Okay, shut up. Okay. The nervous system sends, receives, and processes signals throughout the body. All right. A simple example. All right, so let's look at a simple example. You touch a pan on the stove, which is too hot to handle. All right, so let's start from the moment of contact, where your hand is on the handle. I'm not going to draw this. Alex, you can draw this for me later. But I think you all get the idea without a drawing, right? Okay, so what happens? Well, sensory neurons in the hand detect heat. Right? So we have something that we call a detector, but it's really, it's a sensory neuron. It is cells whose job is to detect stimulus and respond to them. So sensory neurons in the hand detect heat. They're going to send a signal. Where are they going to send that signal? Yeah, they're going to send a signal to the brain. How do we get the information from the sensory neuron in your hand to the brain? I see someone going like, which is true. What's it traveling on? Yeah. What do we call those? So it sends a signal down sensory neurons in nerve bundles, right? I think Aiden gets to claim priority on this one. Like, I'm not saying he's more important than the rest of you, but he is.
What?
No, I stand by that. His deal. You took his pepperoni, he puts the lights how he likes them. That's how it works. So, the signal is received in the brain. So the signal is received and processed in the brain, right? And the brain, we're not going to get hyper technical here, but we're going to get some version of that's too hot, right? And better move my hand, right? It's like saying, sorry, that thing over there, is that a book or is that a bow oak? I'm not sure. It's bundles. What the hell else would it be? You can't do this to me. I'm not trying to be rude. Hey, you're not trying to be rude, but then a third person asked. Like, come on, team. Anyway. So, the signal received and it's processed in the brain, and the brain has to process information, because if you touched a pan that was warm but not too hot, your brain's still going to get a signal from that sensor, but it's going to get a different signal, enough that says, that's fine, that's okay, you can carry that. If it's really hot, you're going to get the like, maybe I'm going to go get a cloth kind of signal, or you might get the like, boom, let go, reflex shot, right? And all of that depends on how strong the signal is. So we're already describing a pretty complex system, right? But now, if the brain determines that's too hot, better move my hand away, well then what happens? You move your hand away. How? Like, how does that get mediated? Well, your brain doesn't move your arm directly. There's not like a wire going from your arm to your brain where your brain's like cranking it on in and your arm moves up, right? Rather, all the muscles are here. If your brain here is deciding, okay, time to move these muscles, what's it have to do?
It sends that information down.
That's right. It has to send another signal. So it sends another signal. Down what we call a motor neuron. Don't worry, we'll define these later. In No, please do. So what's that? That's really up to you. Do you think that's essential information for this note?
That should be part of this. Like a bonus question.
Okay, Okay, let's take a minute. Look at that. So, this is the basic rundown, and that little example there actually gives us the basic idea of how our nervous system works. It has input information, it has a space to process information, and it has a place to output information. That can look like a lot of different things. You might hear something, think about it, and say something in response. You might see something, think about it, and say something, or move something, or whatever, right? If you were to throw an apple at me right now, at my head, I would think, incoming, better catch it. As I was doing that, I was thinking, that looks delicious. I'd catch it, and I'd take a bite, right? But like, there's a whole bunch of processing happening there, but signals have to come from my eye that are telling me there's something coming at me, and I'm sending signals to my arm, right? And then if I go to chew on it, I'm sending signals to my mouth, right? As well as my arm. So, the basic structure of the nervous system is this. There are stimuli. These are just changes in our environment of some sort. And these will stimulate what we call detectors. Sometimes we call them receptors. Sometimes we call them sensors. These are all interchangeable. Their job is to gather information about the stimuli around us. So there's some change in the world around us, and that change is going to be identified by these things in our nervous system that we call detectors or receptors or sensors. And that information is going to get sent for processing of information. And so we receive information about the stimulus, and then we have to process that information. In a computer, you have a central processing unit. You have a chip, right? Like whether you have a desktop computer or a laptop or a mobile phone or a microwave for that matter, it has a processor whose job is to receive information and process it. We call this the integrator. And it sends signals to something we call the effector in a system like this, which makes a change of some sort. In our example above, we have a hot pan, right, stimulating skin cells, which send signal to the brain, which sends signal to muscle cells. So heat recepting skin cells in that first example are the detector.
One second for the interruption.
No, that's fine.
I see Kyra for a moment, please.
Yeah, you bet. We actually simulate this with technology, right? For example, if it's a hot room, we might have a thermometer built into our thermostat, which will then send a signal to what? The room's really hot. A thermometer detects that information. That thermometer is built into the thermostat, which determines, okay, the temperature is hotter than we want it to be. It's going to send a signal to the air conditioning unit. That's right. Okay, go a little faster. Go a little faster.
Oh, that's just thermostat. Well, that's not.
Yeah, I just recognized that.
What's going on?
I'm changing because I can't see.
I'm sorry. How is this going to be better?
The first second.
80% of the time I watch Ava's going,
It is actually better.
would you like to see my Ava impression again?
Yes.
Every once in a while she goes up on the table like on point to be able to see. I'd be impressed. That'd be impressive. Okay, how does that feel? We could do examples of this all day, right? And they aren't all conscious things in our brain. For example, if it is hot in your surroundings, that's information that gets sent to your brain, and your brain will activate a few different things. You don't have an air conditioning unit, but what does happen to your body when you're hot? Yep. Yeah, your glands will start to produce sweat, which is designed to get on your skin and evaporate off, which the evaporation of water is an endothermic process, so it absorbs body from your heat from your body, and that cools you down. Doesn't work on a really humid day, then you're just covered in sweat, which won't evaporate. Yuck. But that's the theory of your sweat glands. That's how they're designed to work. It might cause you also to make a behavioral change. You might say, oh, I should take this sweater off. It's hot in here, right? So the effector can look like a lot of things, and it can be more than one thing. Does that make sense? Especially with a human, because we have autonomic responses, things our body does all on its own, but then we also have behavioral choices, right? We can respond to stimulus by choosing to do things, right? Oh, this room's really hot. I might go into the other room, right? Or I might go turn the air conditioning on, or I might take my sweater off, or I might go jump in the pool, or I might chew on ice cubes. I don't know, whatever you feel like, however you handle the situation. That's the basic structure. So now, the primary cell type of the nervous system is the neuron. All right, we're not going to save space for Alex's beautiful drawing later. We're just going to do this. Ready? Okay. A neuron is basically a cell. Here's a cell. We have a nucleus. It's got DNA all in it. I don't know, it's probably got a mitochondrion or two. Okay, there's a cell. But interestingly, that cell has a long extension of its plasma membrane in one direction that we call the axon. And along the axon, the cell can send signals. We'll talk about that in a minute. This is called the cell body. So this cell can be designed to send an electrical signal down its axon. Now, of course, the next cell is going to have to receive that. So on the other side of the cell, there is a series of, and oh gosh, do I always draw this poorly, of these kind of tree-like looking structures that come out that can receive signals from different sources. And well, that wasn't helpful. Typically, a cell will have only one axon where signal is sent, but most of them, though not all of them, will have multiple things on the other side of it where it receives signals. Hopefully yours look better than this, but this is called, these rather, are called the dendrites. I thought it was my art that was making you feel like throwing up. And I was like, I get it. Does anyone know where the word dendrite comes from? Dendrite is, sorry? Yes, it is the Latin word for dendrus is tree. Tree. And you can see how it kind of looks like a tree branches, right? I don't know what the etymology of axon is. So the neuron receives signals from the dendrites when a strong enough signal is present. We call this the threshold. The neuron will send a signal down the axon. These are an on or off situation, which is to say, if the signal is strong enough, it will send a signal. If the incoming signals aren't strong enough, it will not send a signal. The axons in your body don't kind of send partial signals. They don't half send signals or send quarter signals or something like that. They either reach threshold and send a signal, or fail to reach threshold and don't send a signal. Does that make sense? Maybe, possibly. Yeah. Because the cells that you have that are responsible for sweating, in theory, the thing they should be used for causing you to sweat so you can cool down. But the signals that your body sends to sort of get prepared for various things aren't always super targeted. We'll talk about that. The brain is targeted. When the brain sends a signal, it sends a very specific signal. Hey, muscle, contract. Sweating isn't actually directly determined by the brain. The brain will say, hey, we better, respond to this situation. But then it will activate different things called glands that send chemical signals. We'll learn about that in our next lesson. But they'll send signals to the whole body that say, hey, guys, this is what we're up to right now. So even though the brain says, hey, move here, hey, move there, your pituitary gland and your adrenal gland will send signals that say to the entire body in the bloodstream, hey, we're all going to tense up right now and we're going to get really active. Or, okay, we're really sleepy right now, so we're all going to mellow out. Everything just slow down. And that's a systemic signal. And so often our responses are because we're getting these big systemic signals and they aren't necessarily pinpoint accurate to what the body should be doing. In other words, these things have evolved, so they're not all perfectly efficient. Like the body, there's plenty of things your body does that are not very efficient because your body wasn't engineered. It evolved to its current state. And it's pretty good. It's a pretty impressive device, but it's not perfectly efficient. Did that answer your question at all? Sure. Okay, I'll take it, yeah. It would be an intermittent signal, so not constant, but sort of on, off, versus if it were more painful, on, off, or if it were just a little bit of pain, maybe like on, you know what I mean? Which is also how computers work, for example. Like your phone is actually, for all of its complexity, your phone can only send two signals, 0 or 1. And the processor at any given moment is receiving either a 0 or a 1, and then interpreting what to do with that. It actually receives, if it's a 64-bit processor, it's receiving 64 of these at any given moment. And the combination of those 0s and 1s determines it. And it's how you put those things together that becomes an intelligible signal. Likewise, how you put all the signals together in your body is what becomes the overall picture of what's going on. But each individual signal is either on or off. Did that answer your question at all?
Not really, but...
Okay. No, that's okay. Let me try again. This isn't perfectly true, but it's an analogy that might be helpful. All right? Let's say that this is my hand. Oh, look, it's a hand. You can tell because it's got, okay. And let's say there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 signals here for like heat. It might be that if you put your hand on something that's kind of hot, one of them sends a signal that says like, hey, it's kind of hot. If it gets hot enough, you can imagine that now both of these are designed to fire. And now your brain's like, okay, getting pretty hot. Whereas if all 5 of them are sending a signal, then your brain is going to be like, oh, okay, all 5 are going. That means it's go time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but like even like if I go like this, that's still my body sending signals because they feel
Yep.
something, right?
Yep.
So at a point, like would you touch something and it just not send a signal because it would be a partial signal? Like if you
Yeah. No, sure. Like, in other words, something has to touch you with a certain amount of force before your body can actually prevent it. So, like, if somebody worked very, very, very hard to make contact that was incredibly light, your body wouldn't know the difference between that and not being touched at all. Keep in mind that every square inch of your body right now is being pushed on by the air. And there's actually a lot of pressure there, but it's not enough pressure to signal your nerves because they've evolved to treat that as background noise. But all of those sensors are being triggered by just air pressure, right? But not enough, not sufficiently to send a signal that says, hey, we're touching something right now. That's a good question. I hope that was a somewhat useful answer. Yeah.
I don't know how to remember, but like you were talking about like heat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like touching the stuff. Is it interconnected with like pain?
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that your brain processes is, ow, that hurts. Interestingly, those don't even happen at the same time necessarily. You've probably all had the experience where you instinctively move your hand away from something or notice that you've been cut and it takes a little bit of time before it hurts, right? Your brain has prioritized and your nervous system has prioritized moving and getting out of the way and sort of doing that before it's actually prioritized like, oh, by the way, that hurts. We should send that signal and process that. So those are actually independent responses, but that's all part of your processing. That was a great question. I hope that kind of answers it a little bit. Anyone else before we keep going? Okay. These are electrochemical signals. And what that means is that it's electric charge controlled by pumping charged ions like sodium, potassium, calcium, potassium, etc., into and out of the neuron. You don't have to know about this in detail this year. When we take it in grade 12, we'll actually show you like the specific steps of how everything gets controlled. But basically, it's sending an electrical signal, but you don't have metal wires running through your body. So it's not sending electrical signals through electrical conduction on like a conductive material like a wire. It's doing it by actually pumping these charged ions into and out of neurons, and that allows an electrical charge to build up. You don't have to know that in great detail. Yeah.
So, like, you know how sometimes people have like nerve damage and they can't feel pain?
Yeah.
Is that like what is that them not just like being able, their body says they're all like partial signals?
No, usually that's actually just the physical nerves that connect one spot to another are broken. And so that just, it's not that they're not sending signals, it's that you can't send a signal down a broken road, right? Like, so yeah, and this is why like if somebody has spinal damage, because our nerves run in a big bundle down the spinal column and then branch out through the body, if you damage the spine, those nerves can be damaged and you can lose connection. And so if you think about it, like the lower down, when somebody has nerve damage, they'll always talk about which vertebra it happens at, because that's going to determine what becomes disconnected from the brain. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Overwhelmingly. I'm sure there's other methods, but the overwhelming majority of paralysis happens because of spinal damage, because your spine...
Like how it happens. I just always knew, like, when you're paralyzed, you can't move.
Yeah, your spine contains... Like, if you dissected, even when you did the owl pellet, you would have seen, like, the spines have kind of... This is yet more amazing Orlando artwork, but this kind of shape here, and they have this hole in them, right? So this is what this is looking down on a vertebra, right? The nerves run through here. So they actually there's a big bundle of nerves there, and it's literally a massive bundle of millions and millions of neurons, and as we go through the body, they branch out and they control different things. And yeah, if that becomes damaged, then your brain loses connection with a part of your body. Did that answer your question? It's a good one. Yeah. No. Oh yeah, those are nerves. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're not exactly the same ones, because like anything else in your body, the body has evolved to have very specific types of cells in very specific places. So we have nerves in our teeth. Why exactly? Who knows? We've evolved to. There are places that your body has no nerves and you can't feel pain. Inside your cranium, right? Like famously, despite the fact that your brain contains all of the nerves for thinking, it's got no sense nerves, no pain nerves, nothing like that. This is why you can't feel a concussion directly. Your brain can get all bruised up, but there's no nerves in there for it to report that it's feeling pain. That's part of what makes concussions dangerous, is because people aren't necessarily aware that they have them, right? It also means like when they do brain surgery, I don't know if you've ever seen this footage, but they do brain surgery and sometimes they have to have the person conscious. And like you can see them, they're poking away at the person's brain and that person can't feel it. but then they can actually apply electrical stimulus and they will experience different things neurologically. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question. You know how you were talking about like the brain? But like when I was younger, my head hit like the corner of like the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And like my head split into two. And
Cool.
like my I don't know, it was like pink stuff and like there was blood, but I couldn't feel nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine you're seeing connective tissue and stuff there, not straight up into your brain. Though it is possible. Like, you can suffer a skull fracture that exposes the brain, which is horrifying. But more likely it would have exposed like some connective tissue or some protective tissue like that. But I don't know. I wasn't there. But that sounds horrifying. Did you have to go to the hospital?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like stitching up. But I never felt no pain. So I was like,
Oh. Yeah, head wounds are interesting because they're not always painful, though. They do tend to bleed a lot, and they're quite terrifying. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a good question. The sad answer is, like, we haven't. Like, I guess it'd be equivalent to being like, why do we have a city in Welland and we live here, but then you drive out, like, past out into the middle of nowhere in the boonies and there's not a city there, and it's like, for a variety of reasons, this happened and that didn't. And it's actually exactly the right question. Why didn't this happen? It's important to remember when you answer that question, our basic guiding principle with evolution is that random mutations happen. A lot of those are harmful, which makes it more likely that organism will die and not reproduce, which is what happens. But every once in a while, a random mutation produces a new trait that's beneficial, and that will survive and thrive and get passed on. And by virtue of it happening that way, it means that we haven't been optimized. Nobody has sat down and said, well, these are all the ways things could be better, right? We can all agree that, like, if we had a system in place to clean our arteries out so that plaque didn't build up and we didn't get heart attacks, that'd be better, right? But that hasn't happened. That could happen. That's something that could evolve, but it hasn't as of yet. Did that answer your question? That's a really unsatisfactory answer, but it's kind of just is the answer of evolutionary biology. The reason it hasn't happened is because it didn't. This other thing happened instead, right? Like, why didn't Canada conquer the world? It just didn't, right? Like, that just wasn't what happened. Yes? That's an excellent question that I do not know the answer to. But I would say that the interesting thing about the pain of a headache is it feels like a physical pain, but it's not, right? Like, it doesn't have a specific physical spot that we sort of manifested here. But that is unrelated to touch directly, but I don't have a good answer to that. The brain, very complicated. Yeah? Do you have an answer?
No.
Oh, no, go for it. Okay.
No, you go. I want to hear what you have.
No.
Okay.
No, you have something to say because you have all the smirk on.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to talk about the organizational chart. Organization chart of the nervous system. All right?
How large is it?
It's
Like it's not going to fit in.
no, yeah, you want
Oh,
that
like
space.
it's not gonna fit right here.
Like, you could crunch it in there, but you want a bit more space, I think. If you want, I'll give you some time. Wait till I finish drawing it. You might want to wait till the. You know what? Why don't you wait till I've drawn this one? I promise I'll give you some time, and then you can see where it fits. How's that? I promise. You have my word.
PTSD with this.
Sorry? Do I have to throw something at you? Is that what we're doing? Okay. 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 So we have the nervous system itself. And we divide this into two broad categories. What we call the central nervous system. Okay, does anyone know what we call the other side? Central nervous system and the... the peripheral nervous system. Does anyone know what peripheral means?
Isn't that like the side?
Yeah, it's to the side of. To the side of. Central, peripheral,
Oh my gosh. That's
like your vision.
that's like so simple.
Yeah.
Is there a book of paper right there? Right, turn left. Other left. Yeah, no, other left. This is the right? Yes. You should know that too, because this would be your right. This is graph.
So this is the brain. This is the brain stem. And some portions of the spinal cord. And the central nervous system is all about processing data. All right, so
Can you write in a darker color than that light blue because my eyes are not good in that.
yes, yes I can. Is that any better? Or is that equally bad? Okay. That's why I asked. Yes, we do. That's why I asked if that was better.
I mean, you just used like the same tone of color.
Is this better?
There you go.
Okay, good. Honest to God.
Pastels, you were trying to make it all like pretty. But...
Is it so bad to want to be beautiful? That's fine. The brain, the brainstem, some sections of the spinal column.
Oh wait. Oh my god.
Is that better? That is better. That is better.
I'm just kidding. Well, it's the same.
Focus. Focus.
What did you just say? Every time.
It's a compliment. I'll take it.
What did you say?
I said I'm locked in, Mr. Nate.
Better than the other thing.
Well, now I'm curious.
You want to
What
know
you
what I accidentally
called-
told him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, listen, I'm fine with you calling me Mr. Nathan. Does that mean by the transitive property you've now called me a whore? Is that... You know about the transitive property in math, right? I think by multiplication, I'm offended. Anyway. Okay. Shh. So, the central nervous system is all about processing data. It's decision-making. And some of that decision-making is conscious, and some of that decision-making we say is subconscious. Or, the more technical terms we typically use, we refer to the autonomic nervous system. Okay. Shh. Or what we call the somatic nervous system. You're sorry, but you're not shushing. But really, I got to be honest. I don't care if you're sorry or not. I just want you to be quiet. As my mother used to say, "Don't be sorry, just be better." That's a Jane Orlando original. You reach a certain age, you only have 4 stories to tell and like 3 quips, and then you just do them over and over again. Every once in a while, I break out one people don't know, but not too often.
I've heard about your organic chemistry teacher a lot of times. About how she's just like, oh, just here.
Yeah.
You have to have the pass.
Yeah. My gifty. Yeah. What's that?
What does that say?
Autonomic.
Where do you see that? What was your story about with the dog?
What?
You had a teacher you said that like would point at something and be like, oh, this is going to be used as like a
Yes. Yeah. Later. I don't have time now. But there we go. Autonomic. Autonomic and somatic. The autonomic is responsible for Oh, we've been through this. Don't yell at me. Don't yell at me. Involuntary responses. All right. You could, if you prefer, you could say subconscious. In other words, things that are automatic. All right. So related to this, of course, your heartbeat is autonomic, right? In fact, your heart has its own. You can't control your heart if you try. Under normal conditions, unlike these, now that I'm talking about it, your breathing is autonomic, right? It happens all on its own. But of course, right now you're thinking about it, and so now you can't just breathe naturally, and you're going to think that you can, but then you're going to realize you've been holding your breath for a few seconds, and then you're going to do one of those awkward, like, moments. Anyway, that's the point, McKenna. This is revenge on my part. You guys do lots of things I don't like, and every once in a while I get a little bit of revenge. Yeah.
What?
That's true. Why do you blink? To get stuff out of your eyes. Keep your eyes clean. They're just windshield wipers, right? But the windshield is your eyes. And the wipers are... Sorry? That's an interesting question. Definitely like the tissue around them. The eyes themselves, I almost don't think so.
Do your eyes have, because you got eye surgery, do your eyes hurt or does the tissue around it hurt?
Nothing hurts anymore. Cause
I said after.
I don't know, everything just hurt. Wait,
Okay.
what was the question again?
Well, listen. I'll look it up in one of my textbooks. Okay, shut up.
Oh God, here we go with this searching thing.
I don't want to look it up on my phone. I want to look in a textbook. Anyway, I have no interest in getting with the times. But boy, the exam did just get harder. Yeah. I don't know, but I'm gonna look into headaches in general because I'm actually curious. So I will. Because that's a few questions we've got at different points. Yeah.
So because this unit is longer and more contentful, does that mean that the test is worth more than other tests?
No, actually, but it does mean that the test is. It doesn't mean the test is a little lengthier than other tests, but no, it's not worth more. If you guys do really well on it, I'll make it worth more. That's fine. Because we did do more of it, but if you don't do really well, then I'm not going to punish you. The somatic nervous system is under your conscious control. It's also thought and reasoning, right? So that's the central nervous system, which is responsible for processing data. Data?
Data.
Yeah.
Data's like on your phone. Data's like information.
I think that's an arbitrary distinction, but I'll take it. But these data have to come from somewhere, right? So where do they come from?
What does arbitrary mean?
Arbitrary means an arbiter is somebody who makes a decision. So arbitrary means like somebody just decided that. Like that's just something that we're just saying, as opposed to something intrinsic, right? It would be the difference between like, right, for some Latin, an a priori truth versus an a post priori truth, right? Things that are a priori are true by definition. They're true by like the state of their being, as opposed to a post priori, which is like true by like sort of our reasoning or by our definitions of things. You know, people keep telling me to stop teaching science, and I'm going to start taking it personally. But we'll move on. Anyway, Within the peripheral nervous system, we have two major portions. The first is what we call the afferent, or also known as the sensory system. And this is information being sent to the central nervous system. Everything that's involved in sending data to the central nervous system is part of the afferent or the sensory system. I'm sorry. On the other hand, we have the efferent, and you'll much more commonly hear sensory and motor. Motor is not a great term because it makes it sound like it's only about motion, which isn't true. This is information coming sent from the central nervous system. Stop talking. You're not. You're writing and talking, which is different and infinitely more irritating.
I'm reading what I'm writing.
That's not true either.
Yeah.
Wait, did you get a computer and you just like, that's so smart?
He's smart.
I need to do that because
Gotta love the IEP.
I have to do that and
This is the illegible thing I think of.
Central nervous system.
That's supposed to say system.
What are you talking about?
I thought you were talking about mine. I'm like, I think it does. I don't know.
No. It should be in a museum for like hieroglyphics.
You look back on it years later and you go, when I was in Mr. Nadon's class. That, anyway.
I can read this. This, I'm gonna. Not my problem. Not my problem. Just do my paper on the ground.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. In a minute, okay? I do want to finish this. We're very close, team. We're very close. I've had just about enough of you. You're going to get... I'm just deciding what I'm going to throw at you, and I do have a bucket of pig hearts very close to me. There's a non-zero chance I throw a pig heart at you. You understand that? So stop being whiny. I mean, you got to admit, that'd be an epic way to get fired, right? Like, what happened to Orlando? Oh, he got fired because he threw a pig heart at a student. Like, that's, if you're going to go...
Don't worry, you'll learn how to dodge. I learned, and every single time he tries to throw markers at me, it always hits
Anytime
another
he throws
student.
something, one time I got a box thrown at
And
me.
he knows it, because last time he did it.
One time I got a box.
Yeah, sorry about that, by the way.
I could hear it.
I feel very guilty about
You
that.
hit them every time you try to hit me.
Yeah, I don't have very good aim.
One time,
Listen, guys, I'm not the gym teacher, all right? I'm not the gym teacher for a reason.
one time I got a box thrown at me.
Okay, you know what? We could sit here all day and talk about all the things I've allegedly thrown at people. Allegedly. Allegedly.
For the record.
But since we're just making up stories here, let's just get back to work, shall we?
First
First time I hit.
Sorry? Try it. We kind of see how that goes for you. Please. I invite you to try.
Go too well for me.
At least you do that.
It wouldn't go well for anybody.
I feel like
Everybody would be... In that moment, McKenna, I can assure you, everybody would be your
you
enemy.
like have the same reaction as like when making fun of each other.
I didn't say that to him. Actually, no, but
How does one accent?
dude, I don't know. I just
It is one of those things that you're like, then I accidentally called my teacher a whore. Like, when you say it out loud, you realize how ridiculous that is, right?
no, but it's just because it's like a part of my vocabulary.
You should like, okay, but listen, listen, that's okay. That's okay. Like, it really is. In other words, like, we all speak differently to different groups of people, but it's important to effectively code switch from one to another, right? You know, you wouldn't talk to the bank teller the way you talk to your dog, because that'd be weird, right? And be like, can I get all 50s? Can I? Yes, I can. Who's a good bank? That'd be weird, right? Like, that would be weird, and they would kick you out of the bank. Likewise, right? Right? Like, that'd be strange behavior. Like, you're going through the cafeteria line and you're talking that way to the cafeteria lady, she'll mess you up. Like, you shouldn't. She's a nice lady, but she's not going to stand for that.
What would Miss Ward do?
That's what. So you gotta.
Don't get her.
So listen. Shh. So you've got to code switch, is what they call it, right? You've got to speak differently when you're speaking to a different audience. Yeah, it's an important skill, right? It's a key skill. You know. Anyway. No, listen, it's like we're all working on it. That's part of life. And we all get it wrong sometimes, right? That's okay. But it's a skill to be practiced, like any other. Okay, so listen here. The brain handles most CNS function, central nervous system, but there are some things that are processed. Hello.
Hello, Swedish.
No, that's okay.
I'm gonna make a 30-second.
Oh yeah, please go nuts.
Okay. Okay, folks, if you are in university classes and you want to go to a trip to Brock on Friday and you're not already signed up, it is social science based, sorry, not biology, but it's an opportunity to check out the campus. So if you're interested, it is for university grade 11 or 12 students. You're welcome to grab a page and bring it in. First come, first serve. Yep.
Is it the one for Thursday?
It's the one for Friday. It's a different trip than what we're doing.
Is psychology?
Yes, it's a psychology trip.
Yeah.
The law and psychology class was already invited. Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good.
The forms are right there. Thanks,
Guys,
guys.
if that appeals to you, if you haven't seen Brock's campus before, it's a good one. Would recommend.
There's also a fire trip on Thursday.
You thought wrong, dude. Quiet. Thank you. For example, reflexes. Can everyone do like the classic, like tap the person next to you on the knee like this and watch the knee kick out a little bit? Right? You got to dangle it lightly and then just give a good little bit there. That's one example of a reflex, if you felt it before. What's a reflex in general? Yeah, reflexes are autonomic reactions. And most, which just means not under your conscious control, most are regulated in the spinal column. Which means, for example, if a surface is really hot, I'm going to say extremely hot, your hand will move away before your brain has received any signal at all. So we've actually demonstrated this. We know this is true by doing research. You can actually run and you can see that by the time the signal gets to your lower spine, to your upper spine that says, this is hot, there's already a signal going back to the muscle to say, hey, move away, while the signal is continuing its way to the brain. So we actually have some regulation in the spinal cord, which is responsible for sending signals in advance of brain processing. The basic idea being that we've evolved to protect ourselves before we even recognize that we are in a situation where we need to protect ourselves. These are reflective responses, and a lot of those are not actually run in the brain, but in the spinal cord. And that's because it takes a finite amount of time for a signal to be sent. And unlike electrical signals going down a metal wire, which move at basically the speed of light, very, very fast, these are electrochemical signals. They're caused by the pumping of ions, and it happens quickly, but it does take time. I worked in a lab where we were actually measuring electrical conductivity, the sending of electrical signals in plants, a mimosa plant. You ever seen those plants where when you touch them, they fold up? We had those, and we were testing under different conditions how quickly those electrical signals got sent. Cutting edge research, team. Oh, set in the face of science alight. Right up there with my mosquito lab experience. Or my bearded dragon lab experience. My job in that lab was to write down what time it was and whether the bearded dragons were under the heat lamp, not under the heat lamp, or half and half. And then I would do the same several minutes later. Cutting edge research, team. Cutting edge. But there we go. What was your question? Wait, I didn't hear what you said. Oh, I wasn't in charge of results. I was at the bottom of the pile. I was responsible for writing down. In the West Nile lab I worked at, I was responsible for looking at a mosquito under. I was responsible for looking at a mosquito under the microscope, and I would look at the striation pattern of the mosquito's gonads, and use that to determine what species it belonged to before I passed it along to the next person who blended up and tested it, see if it had West Nile. Again, I don't really know the results. I just looked, wrote it down, passed it along. I'd say, bye, little skeeter. Enjoy your time getting ground up. Ground up. So anyway, there we have. Hey, this is rude. This is rude. But yes, we are done. That's it. You're good. Hey, talk to me. Dissection report. I want to give you guys lots of time, but I also don't want to drown in it. I'm kind of thinking end of next week. Thoughts? I'm thinking end of next week. That gives you a lot of time. Is that cool? Dissection reports? All right, next Friday it is. Hey, listen. Shh, listen. Look at me. Look at me. Do not assume that your group necessarily wants to do a report with you. You did the dissection together as a big group. You are welcome to do reports individually or as a group. I took notes on all of you while you were doing your dissections. For that, everyone's getting grades. You all did well. Nobody was totally freeloading for the most part. But those of you who did, I took note. So if you want to then do your report on your own, then your report will be graded on your own. If you want to do your report as part of a group, I will grade you as a group, but that's something you are agreeing to on your own terms. Does that make sense? Do not, look at me. You don't have to work with your group to do this report. By the way, if that means you've got photos to get, prioritize, like if you say, I'm going to do my own report, these guys are dumb, and you do your own, prioritize getting your data now. Do not come to me a day before this thing is due and be like, oh, my group hasn't given me their pictures. Be like, oh, well, and you're dealing with this the day before it's due. Do you see what I'm saying? But don't assume that the people you worked with want to make a report with you. They might be like, that Joe guy's a moron. He's out of here. He's on his own. Or they might be like, that Joe guy's too good. He's going to make the rest of us look bad. Or whatever. I don't know. Point being, make sure you have confirmed with everyone you think you're working with that you are in fact working together, because you are under no obligation. Nobody is under any obligation to do a report with anybody. That's up to you guys. You can do, if you want to do them all individually, great. You want to do them half and half, great. You want to choose to exclude one person? That sounds potentially rude to me, but that really is your business. And you might have a very good reason to do so. Point being, you will figure out your group arrangements entirely on your own, and don't get finicky about it. Like, everyone has a right to strap their grades to whomever they like. Oh boy, 3 hands. In order. 1, 2, 3. Yes? You're going to actually do a presentation, yes. It doesn't have to be a slideshow. That probably makes the most sense. You can make a poster. You could do whatever you want. But yes.
So if it's a report, how are we going to present it?
You're going to say, hey, we wrote a report. This is what it says. I
Can
think
we stand there and
I think the key point, you don't have to read the whole thing, but you can say, I think the key points are this. Whatever you like. Yes. You'll present on Friday of next week. Yes.
Can you scroll up, please? I'm not sure with your agreement. Thank you.
How is this not going through with my agreement?
I had 5 seconds to look at it.
That was up there for like 20 minutes.
I was waiting.
Good Lord.
I was waiting for it to be done.
You could have given birth to a next generation of students who could have written that down. Obviously not actually. Just shut, you're still not writing. Oh my God. You're complaining you don't have time, and that's a lot of pointing at me and talking, and not a whole lot of writing. Anyway, carry on. I feel like other teachers don't get in fights with their students like this. I should probably work on that. Yes.
Are we getting graded on how pretty it looks? Or like,
Of course.
did you like your last?
I did. I really did. I've definitely given them all marks. I don't think I've put them in yet. I was being generous to some people who still haven't turned it in, which is quickly becoming not a thing I'm gonna keep doing. But then I was like, I've needed people to be gracious with me because I had a weird month where I had to go to Switzerland. So I'm like, well, if I need people's grace, then don't I also have to offer it? Yeah.
I'm very sorry.
Yeah, catch me after.
Okay.
What is you? Well, now it's like some food. So
After school or just
Just after this period.
okay.
No, I'm going to give that to you in detail. I'll give you a rubric tomorrow. And a couple of things that are actually going to be collaborative. There's some choices to make, so.
I literally called her at the Francis side and you just said, bless your heart, baby. Like, okay. Bring it, Yoda. Oh, yes.
Mr. Egon is gonna hurt.
No,
I swear to God, I'm not gonna do it. You know what I mean? So like this. You look a lot like Mr. Egon.
I'll take it.
That's not her. I don't know now. Look out. Go guys. Thursday though, we should be back by 12. So you should be back like halfway.
Excellent. Guys, be kind to one another. Have a wonderful day. Don't do anything Briley wouldn't do. I think so, yeah. What? That's right. Whatever day works for you. Where the hell's Novak today, huh?
I have no idea. She stood us up and we had.
Tell her she's being dead to me.
Yeah, she said to me too. I
Alright,
walked
tell her
her
she's
every
dead.
day.
Tell her she's dead to us. There you go.
And even I walked her.
Yes, ma'am.
What day will I be able to take
In there.
Yes, because I can't take it on the
Oh, that's fine. We can talk. The answer is any day you want is fine. It will be more than ready in advance. So why don't you talk to your other teachers who may or may not be less or more flexible. You tell me the day that's good, and I'll make sure it's good for you.
and she just said that, like, tell her when the other teacher's doing.
Oh, she's saying the same thing?
2 exams on the same day as us.
Yeah, and then honestly, then you can write your own schedule, which might help you decide which one's going to be, which one do I want to give more time or whatever. Blah, 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 blah. But yeah, you tell me the day, I will have it ready for you.
This is a really early time to tell you, but depending on if I get into camp for summer staff, because summer staff have to go a week earlier than bridge, and depending on exam schedules, I may either have to
Are you
take.
talking about next semester?
Yes, I may either have to take the 4U bio exam early or have to go up to camp a few days late.
Oh, we can have you take it early if you want. Now, I wouldn't trust on me to remember that for.
No, I know
For
that.
6
I don't
months?
even know if I got into
So you're
camp.
gonna want to. I hope so.
Yeah, well, I
I'm
did
sure you-
last year. So
Well,
I think
you'll be
that-
wonderful.
Yeah. I applied for day camp this year.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
Now it's day camp, but you'd still be staying there, right?
Yeah. Like, and after like after like teen week, day camp's done, and then I'd be like a camp leader for youth week. And then there's like family camp week a week after that, which will probably be on like chapel groups or something. And I also like they do like let you apply for 3 in like order. So I did day camp as my number 1, and then my second is like arts program staff, and then my third one was Cavalier.